Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Hard Count podcast. And today I'm going to be going over my Week 10 NFL Power Rankings. We just finished up a very exciting Week 9 of NFL football. I can't believe it's Week 10 already. But real quick, before we get into it, I just want to remind you guys, hit that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. So yeah, let's get right into it with my 32nd team. And it's the New York Jets. And for the past, it has been since Week 1 of the NFL season. And this was the first time that it was a little bit of a tough decision because the team at number 31 that we're going to talk about soon could have also made a case for being here at number 32. But the Jets, they've been awful. They're 0-9 for a reason. And, you know, it's Week 10 of the season. A lot of team seasons are done. So I think I'm going to be talking a little bit more about draft prospects, what we can expect from these teams in the draft, what they should be getting. And the Jets, we know what their goal is. It's Trevor Lawrence, one of the best, most surefire college prospects we've seen ever in the history of the NFL. So it was almost, for a lot of Jets fans, it was scary almost seeing them get a win against New England. But they got the loss. They're in good position right now to get Trevor Lawrence, who should be their franchise quarterback for years to come. But right now, the Jets are just not in a position to compete, and they're 0-9. So they're here at 32. At number 31, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, dropping down one spot. And I mean, if you take out Week 1 where they actually surprisingly beat the Colts, this team has lost every other game. I don't know if they're going to win another game for the rest of the season. They're just bad. They had to put in Jake Luton, however you say it. And I mean, he was better than I expected, but still nothing great because I was expecting like the worst quarterback in the NFL by a mile. They actually almost came back if they got that 2-point conversion against the Texans. So the offense played decently well, but this team right now is just not good at all. The offense is limited. It doesn't have enough talent on it. The defense either. This team needs to reset. I'm looking at Justin Fields in the draft for this team at the moment. They need their future. Jake Luton, not looking like it. We'll see how he does in the next couple weeks. But Minshew, Jake Luton, Justin Fields is a can't-miss guy. I think the Jaguars should definitely consider taking him in the draft. At number 30, we have the Dallas Cowboys, and yikes, they stay here. And I mean, it looked like they maybe could pull it off against the Steelers. I was really rooting for them, but they couldn't get it done. Maybe that was the only time I was ever rooting for the Cowboys. But they move up one spot here just because I think the Jaguars needed to move down, and they looked decent on some fronts. Garrett Gilbert didn't look too bad. He made some good plays through the course of the game. Not too much to say there. And the Cowboys, they will be fine next year. I think that we're looking at, you know, a guy that's a surefire prospect, maybe like a Penei Sewell in the offensive line, Gregory Rousseau, Micah Parsons, just one of those very surefire, well-rounded prospects. Add to a team that right now it's just not cohesive. They're going to get Dak Prescott back next year. Their season is over, most likely. They're just not looking like a good team. I think the Eagles are going to win this division. But the Cowboys are here at 30. They're not a good team. They're just looking forward to next year at this point. At number 29, we have the Washington football team staying here at number 29. And I mean, Alex Smith is now the quarterback. And I guess if that was exciting to you, if you wanted to see that, I guess it's a good thing. Obviously, never want to see Kyle Allen or anybody go down like that in that fashion because that was not good to see. Hopefully he is okay. But they're just not a good team. I think I was talking about the Cowboys being talented, just not cohesive at the moment. This Washington football team, I talked about this last week, is cohesive. They are well put together. Ron Rivera does a good job at coach. And they've got a bright future. They're looking forward to next year. They just don't have what they need right now. I mean, they've got Terry McLaurin, great piece there. They're building up their defense from the bottom, and it's better every single week. They're able to, do a lot of things right in that Giants game, but they weren't able to win at the end of the day. I think we're looking at probably moving on at quarterback in the offseason for this Washington football team. I'm looking at maybe Zach Wilson early in the draft. Maybe you could go Trey Lance. One of those prospects up there at the top who are looking good, can be the future. This is what this team needs. It needs a reset because I like the culture Ron Rivera's created. We just need to see them take that next step forward as a franchise. At number 28, we have the New York Giants staying here at number 28. I predicted them to beat the Washington football team because I like this defense. I think the defense is definitely solid. I think they got their coach in Joe Judge. He's going to be their guy for the next few years, multiple years, which is a very good thing. Sometimes you don't like when these bad teams get into a situation where they have a coach they don't like and they're bouncing between coaches nonstop. It just, it creates a bad culture like the Browns. I mean, they finally found their guy with Kevin Stefanski, but like for years it was just coach. And I think it's a good thing the Giants have found their guy. They're getting the defense in cohesion. And finally, we didn't see Daniel Jones turn the ball over and they won the game. And I know I've been talking about prospects that everyone should be picking up and what they should be looking forward to. And I think, the Giants could go a couple ways here. And I think if they get that number 2 pick, I think they should go with Justin Fields. It feels a little bad parting ways with Daniel Jones because I actually think he's done a relatively good job. But as my friend Evan Into Sports said, he's not revolutionary. He's not great. And Justin Fields is a surefire revolutionary prospect. So I think the Giants would have to take him if they get the opportunity. I'm not sure if they would because the front office seems relatively invested in Daniel Jones, but I think that's the right move. I like that they've got their coach in Joe Judge. Their defense is looking more cohesive. They're just not there quite yet. At number 27, we have the Denver Broncos. Staying here at number 27, I know there's not too much movement at the bottom here because I think we kind of know how bad both these teams are. No surprises this week from any of them too much. And the Broncos, well, they almost came back. That's the good news, but the bad news is they had to come back from a big deficit against the Atlanta Falcons. So, never a good sign. Drew Lock, he's just inconsistent. He looks very bad in the first 3 quarters, and then in the past couple of games, he's looked great in the fourth quarter. And that's not something you can do. You can't be digging yourselves into holes like that and just expecting yourself to come back. You're not Patrick Mahomes, Drew Lock. You got to stay in games, and that's not what they're doing right now. Their defense did not look good this past week. I mean, there's some bright spots. Obviously, Justin Simmons has looked great. But this team right now, I just am not a fan. Drew Lock, I think he's going to keep improving. And as I've said with a lot of these bottom teams, there's some bright spots, a bright future, I think, for a lot of these teams. It's just not their year right now. And I think the Broncos are going to be continuing to look at and improve their roster, maybe their defense a little bit in this draft. I think maybe cornerback, just a defensive piece in general, I think would definitely be helpful for this team. But as you're at number 27, I just am looking here to see a little bit more from Drew Lock, not get themselves digging themselves in a hole so much. At number 26, we have the Detroit Lions, moving down 2 spots here. And a couple weeks ago, this was my team that I thought was going to make the playoffs, and they have disappointed big both weeks, losing to the Colts by 20, and now just getting torn up by the Minnesota Vikings. And their defense, which I thought was getting better, I thought it was getting a little more cohesive, doing things the right way, the things I wanted them to be doing. It's fallen apart these past couple weeks. They can't stop the run at all. Their pass defense is struggling. The new guys in the system are struggling. I'm not loving the play calling. And Matthew Stafford is not playing as well as I was hoping. I had him ranked as the 6th best quarterback going into the year. He is not at all playing like that, and he needs to if this Lions team's going to win games. He's not right now. They're missing Kenny Galladay, who's a big playmaker on that offense. So this Lions team, it's trending down right now. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs anymore after those 2 losses. I thought the Atlanta game was a turning point in the season. I was wrong. And so they dropped down 2 spots here. I'm losing hope in the Lions. At number 25, we have the San Francisco 49ers dropping down 4 spots here. And they just didn't put up a fight against the Packers on Thursday Night Football at all. I thought they might be able to. They have some matchup advantages there for the 49ers. That's why they were able to dominate the matchups last year, but they just couldn't do it. It's not their fault. Injuries happen, but injuries like that just don't happen. It's just an anomaly, and unfortunately for them, it makes them a worse football team. So they are all the way down here at 25 because they don't have like their entire starting lineup, which is funny because the 49ers backups and with Kyle Shanahan are still better than some teams in the NFL. But they showed me on Thursday, they just aren't the team that I think, most of us expected, and they could be, but they just can't stop anything. They can't move the ball on offense. Nick Mullins is not good enough for this team. Maybe they should try putting in Beathard. But right now, I don't have too much to say about the 49ers. Until they get healthy, they're going to be stuck down here closer towards the bottom. At number 24, we have the New England Patriots moving up 2 spots here. And despite it being a close game with the Jets, I actually liked a lot of what I saw from the Patriots. I was very concerned about the offense. I was very concerned about Cam Newton for the past couple weeks. That's the reason I had him so low, because the offense wasn't doing things right. I was saying the cohesion just isn't there. Cam Newton is not built for this offense. He's not built to be a pinpoint guy underneath, running slant routes to guys who aren't going to create a ton of separation. He's meant to be a playmaker, get guys deep with guys that are able to create separation. That's the opposite of what the Patriots did. But he played fantastic against the Jets. And yes, the Jets, but their defense is not as bad as their offense. Their defense is reasonably. So, the Patriots, they actually looked better than if you just looked at the fact that it was a close game against the Jets than you might think. Their defense has not been as good, I'm going to talk about this when I'm talking about my best bets. I think they may have been looking a little bit ahead towards that Ravens game they play on primetime next week. I'm not sure. They got the win, though. That's what matters at the end of the day. Cam Newton played very well. So, yeah, I liked what I saw from this Patriots offense, despite the scoreboard. And the defense, it'll clean things up. It's Bill Belichick. It's the Patriots. They will be fine. But they move up 2 spots here. I still don't think it's a good team. At number 23, we have the Carolina Panthers moving up 2 spots. And I predicted it in my best bets. I had Carolina covering the spread against Kansas City as a best bet because Teddy Bridgewater, he keeps the Panthers in close games. They're a team that I think is going to stay in a lot of games. They're gonna lose a lot of close games. They're gonna win some close games. They're gonna beat the bad teams and lose to the good teams. That's what the Panthers are. I think they're a good, bad team. Their defense is not great. I think they're a developing team. And I've talked about this with some other teams on this list so far. You may be tired of me saying it, but they're going to continue to get better. They're still building. They're going to get a good draft spot in this upcoming draft. They can add another piece to that defense, which is continually growing under Matt Rule, who I think has done a great job with them. It's just not there quite yet. They've done a decent job. Teddy Bridgewater is doing a decent job. So yeah, I like the Panthers. Just not a great team yet. They move up 2 spots, though, for putting up a good effort against Kansas City, who we'll be talking about later. At number 22, we have the Houston Texans moving up 1 spot here. And not too much to say about them. They didn't play great. They didn't play terribly against the Jaguars. Deshaun Watson, he's great. He'll be their starter for a while to come. And it's unfortunate that he's having to deal with everything that goes wrong in Houston, just not being able to have the weapons he needs. But this offense has been looking better, so we'll see if they can carry that over into the next coming weeks. I think this team's season is over. We get to see them play the Browns, though, so maybe they can get something going in that game, but just things aren't hopeful right now. They're going to be waiting until next season. Maybe they can get a good draft pick in this year's draft. But the Texans move up 1 spot for beating the Jaguars. At number 21, we have the Atlanta Falcons moving up 1 spot here. And the Atlanta Falcons, they confuse me quite a bit because some weeks they play great, some weeks they don't. Some weeks they can get things going on offense, sometimes they can't. Sometimes their defense plays well, sometimes it just doesn't. They're the model of inconsistency in the NFL. And they played a great game on Sunday. So I got to give them credit for that. They almost did blow that, though, against the Broncos. That would have been very, very bad. But their offense was able to move the ball very, very well. Even without Calvin Ridley. So I liked what I saw from this Falcons offense quite a bit. They outperformed my expectations for sure. And yes, it was against the Broncos, but still, it was nice to see the offense kind of return to form and everything. So they move up 1. I don't think they're a contender by any means, but they're a fun team to watch, high-powered offense. They move up 1. At number 20, we have the Cincinnati Bengals staying put at number 20. They had their bye week, not too much to say. I'm excited to see them play the Steelers. Maybe they can make a statement there off the bye. I would love to see that. Bengals here at 20. And yeah, we'll see what they can do this week. At number 19, we have the Philadelphia Eagles moving down 2 spots off their bye. We'll see what they can do this week against the Giants. They definitely should win that game. I'm not sure if they will, because you never know what you're going to get from the Eagles. But I like Carson Wentz a lot. I think he's very undervalued at this point in the season. Their defense does a great job a lot of the time, makes a lot of good plays. They're going to win the NFC East. I wouldn't be surprised. It would be such an Eagles thing to get in the playoffs, beat a couple teams surprisingly. So, the Eagles are going to make the playoffs. They're not great. They definitely have some struggles on offense. They need to get healthy quick. But for now, they're here at 19. Carson Wentz is very undervalued. Right now, they dropped down 2 spots off their bye. At number 18, we have the Chicago Bears. And they are exactly who we thought they were. The most fraudulent 5-1 team we've ever seen. Their offense is terrible. And, they just can't win games with Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles at quarterback. That's just not how you win in the NFL. You need a starting caliber quarterback at this point. And those two are not it. They're the only team in the NFL, in my opinion, along with Washington, that does not have a starting caliber quarterback. So the Bears, they're just going to struggle offensively. I think their defense is overrated at this point. Because of how good it was 2 years ago, people are still hanging on to that. They got Khalil Mack, yes, but they're just not too great on too many fronts. Their run defense is okay. Their pass defense is fine. They're about an average defense. But they dropped down 3 spots here. I think we're showing the true colors of the Bears. We're seeing them all now. At number 17, we have the Cleveland Browns, who are also on bye. They move up 1 spot here over the Chicago Bears. So, yeah, not too much to say about them. They're going to play the Texans this week. Maybe they can get a win there and move to 6-3, which is crazy to say because they don't feel like a 6-3 team, but they're probably going to make the playoffs. So we'll see if they can make noise there. At number 16, we have the Los Angeles Chargers moving down 2 spots. And the Chargers confuse me quite a bit because they're 2-6, but their point differential is about -10, close to around there. They're not a 2-6 team. They cannot pull games out. They're going to be in most games. And because of Justin Herbert, they're a big play, big passing team. They could have won that game against the Raiders. I think 16 is the perfect spot for them right now because they're just an average team. Their point differential shows it. Justin Herbert's going to keep them in most games. They can beat the bad teams. They're just, it's hard to see them keep losing all these close games. It was this way last year as well. And unfortunately, their season's getting closer and closer to being over. It probably is over at this point. So they're looking ahead to next season, but they've got a bright future with Justin Herbert. But doesn't change the fact how good they actually are. And they're the 16th best team in the NFL right now. They're going to stay in most games. Justin Herbert is a phenom. At number 15, we have the Minnesota Vikings moving up 4 spots here. And the Vikings are looking like the team I expected going into the year. And, it's unlikely that they're going to be able to make the playoffs at this point. They're 3-5, so it's not quite out of range. They play the Bears this week. They could move to 4-5, and they're right back in it. So, the Vikings, their season isn't over at all. They're getting the running game going, which they were struggling with at the start of the year a lot more. That's what this offense revolves around, play action, Kirk Cousins, And so when they're able to get the ball moving on the ground, that's when this team is successful. They've done that nonstop these past couple weeks when they've beaten the Packers and then just handily beat the Lions. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Vikings right now. We'll see if they can keep it up against another divisional opponent in the Bears. And then the week after that, they play the Dallas Cowboys, which is looking like an easy win for the Vikings. And then they play the Panthers. So they could easily in 3 weeks be 6-5, right back in playoff contention. The Vikings season is not over. They can make the playoffs still. We'll see. I'm liking what I'm seeing from this offense. This defense is looking a little better, a little more put together like it wasn't at the start of the year. So they move up 4 spots here. This is a team that's not quite a playoff team yet, but they can get there in the next couple weeks, get in that contention. So yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Vikings. At number 14, we have the Las Vegas Raiders moving up 2 spots here. And the Raiders, they won. They won against the Chargers. It was a good game. Derek Carr is a good quarterback. He does everything he needs to do. I'm liking what I'm seeing from John Gruden as the offensive play caller. I know I say that a lot, but I think he deserves a little more respect for that. And then, they play the Broncos this week. I think this team is a borderline playoff team. I'd love to see them make the playoffs. They're going to be 6-3 if they can beat the Broncos, and they're going to be in a good position. I mean, you got a lot of teams like the Raiders and the Browns that are going to be competing. So this is going to be a fun AFC playoff picture at the end of the year for sure. And the Raiders are definitely going to be one of those teams. Their defense does struggle a little bit. They can get torched in the passing game if they let it happen, and it does happen. So I'm not saying it's the best team for sure, but their offense, I mean, when it's clicking, it is clicking. It does a very good job. Derek Carr does a good job. So I like this team. Borderline playoff team for sure. And they're here at number 14. At number 13, moving down 3 spots, are the Indianapolis Colts. Disappointing performance there against the Ravens. They were actually looking pretty good in the first half. Their defense looked great. They were holding this Ravens offense to not much. And their offense was moving the ball very well in those first couple of possessions, but then it just all went downhill. Jonathan Taylor fumbled. Phillip Rivers made some bad mistakes, and they just could not get anything going in the second half. They couldn't stop Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in the second half. It was just not pretty. So the Colts, they're still a good team. Do not get me wrong. Their defense is very, very solid, and their offense is going to be fine. It's not going to be great. Depends on how Phillip Rivers plays any given day. The Colts, they're decent. I think to me they're a bottom tier playoff team, but they are here at number 13, dropping down 2 spots. At number 12, we have the LA Rams. They were on bye. They were our 4th and final team on bye this past week. And, the Rams, I'll only talk about them briefly. Their offense, I think it's getting a little bit figured out. McVay is a great offensive mind, though. He can figure some things out, hopefully. But Jared Goff only gives you so much in an offense. So we'll see what happens with the Rams. They are going to be playing the Seahawks this week, which is a pretty big game for them. That'll tell us quite a bit about the Rams. The Seahawks have struggled a little bit the past couple weeks, so we'll see what we get out of them this week. But the Rams are here at 12. Good defense. Offense is a little bit questionable. So yeah. At number 11, we have the Arizona Cardinals staying put at number 11. I see no reason to move them. And they looked good against the Dolphins. If it wasn't for one missed kick, they could have won that game for sure. And, Kyler Murray is very, very talented. One of the most talented players in the NFL. He is mobile like Lamar Jackson. He's got a fantastic touch on the ball. And, he throws a great ball. He's a very pretty pass for sure. I just want to see some more consistency, accuracy-wise. And, he played a great game, but then I wouldn't be surprised next week if he came out and couldn't hit a throw. We'll see with Kyler. I really like him, though. I think the sky is the limit for him. So, yeah, the Cardinals are here at 11. Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins. It's gonna be a good team, a team that's gonna be fun to watch for years, and a team that's gonna be dangerous in the playoffs for sure. Like we saw what they could do against the Seattle Seahawks. At number 10, we have the Miami Dolphins, moving up 3 spots here after beating the team we just talked about in the Arizona Cardinals. And Tua Tagovailoa looked fantastic in the second game. And I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. I don't think he is, some special thing yet. I don't think he's as good as Burrow or Herbert for sure. Because, I don't think he's special in any category. The same reason as I gave last week when I was talking about him. I don't think he's special in any category. We'll see how he develops. He's injury prone. I mean, that doesn't affect the Dolphins ranking and my analysis of how good he is. But definitely just something to look out for. But he looked great in this past game. I'm was definitely very impressed. I said, and this was where I was very wrong, I said that they weren't going to be able to keep up with the Cardinals if this game got into a shootout, which I thought it might. And it did get into a shootout. And that's where I thought the Dolphins would collapse. That's where I thought they wouldn't be able to keep up with Tua. And they absolutely did that. And they outperformed the Cardinals. So it was a very impressive performance. I loved what I saw from Tua in that game. We'll see if he can keep it up. I'll be definitely looking forward to that. And their defense is going to be well coached. Brian Flores, I love the culture he's creating in Miami. And Miami's looking like a playoff team right now. That's going to be one that could be a little bit scary in the postseason. They're a team that you probably don't want to play. especially if Tua continues to keep up the way he played on Sunday. So Dolphins move up 3, and they're at number 10. At number 9, we have the Tennessee Titans moving down 1 spot here. And, not too much to say about the Titans. I think they're good. I don't think they're special. I don't think they're a part of the top 8, which I'll talk about soon, that I think are kind of a tier. They're very close. I think they kind of bridge the gap between the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 teams and then the top 8. But they're a good team. They just beat the Bears. They did a good job defensively the first half, and they kind of let the Bears back into it, but it was okay. The Titans, Ryan Tannehill will do enough for you. He's not special. He has looked pretty good, though, this year. The defense, it's inconsistent at best. I think it's going to struggle a little bit more against some of the top offenses, but it's still a well-coached team, well-put-together team, a team that, as we saw with the Ravens, you don't want to play in the playoffs, but they're here at number 9. At number 8, we have the start of our top 8, which I think are definitely the biggest contenders right now, and that is the Buffalo Bills moving up 1 spot, and most people might be wanting me to put them higher. I know that. Don't get too mad at me here. They played great. Josh Allen looked great in that game. The defense looked better. They were able to force some turnovers. That was impressive. Do not get me wrong, and that's why they move up into this first tier of teams. But I'm not going to ignore everything I've seen. Josh Allen has struggled at some points through this season, been a little bit inconsistent, but he's still a playmaker. I have him as the 6th best quarterback in the NFL. We'll see what he can do for the rest of the year. And then you've got the defense, which is the biggest liability, the biggest concern for me. Because despite the Seahawks turning it over 4 times, the Seahawks put up 34 points on the Bills. They could have easily lost that game if it weren't for a couple of turnovers, which you can't count on. And the Bills offense isn't going to be able to score 44 every week against a bad Seattle defense. So I'm concerned about the Bills defense for sure. I'm not going to buy all of my Bills stock right now. I was buying it last week. I told you guys that, but now I'm pumping the brakes a little bit. I've seen them ranked as top 3 team in the NFL right now. They're just not that. And we'll see if they can continue progressing. But it was definitely a big win against the Seahawks, a statement win. And they get to play the Cardinals. So another big game, another game with 2 fun offenses. But yeah, the Bills impressed me for sure, just pumping the brakes a little bit. So they're here at number 8, and they were the first team in my top 8. At number 7, we have the Seahawks, who we just talked about, lost to the Bills. But that's okay. I'm still having the Seahawks over the Bills. The Seahawks, they have Russell Wilson. He's not going to turn the ball over 4 times every game. And I know he did it against the Cardinals, but it's Russell Wilson, his whole career. I'm not just looking at 2 games and saying, oh my gosh, Russell Wilson's fallen off a cliff. What are the Seahawks going to do? I'm just thinking, 2 off games, he's going to recalibrate. He will be just fine. This offense still scored 34 points on this Bills defense despite turning the ball over multiple times. It's explosive. It's a team that's going to recalibrate. The defense is a big concern, though, just as I talked about with the Bills. The defense is a liability. It's going to let up points non-stop. But if there's any guy I want to count on to, make up for that, it's Russell Wilson. And the reason I have the Seahawks over the Bills is because I think Russell Wilson's a guy I rely on. I have him ranked as the 2nd best quarterback in the NFL. A guy I'm more relying on over Josh Allen, because I think these 2 teams are very close in how good they actually are. But I'll take Russell Wilson over Josh Allen right now. Still 2 good teams, but I like the Seahawks a little bit more. At number 6, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers dropping down 2 spots, and yikes. What a disappointing performance Sunday Night Football. And I'm not going to overreact to that game because I know it was against the Saints, their division game. First time Tom Brady's ever gotten swept by a division opponent in a season in his career. I know all of that. But I'm not going to overreact. This Buccaneers offense is still one of the most talented, one of the most scary offenses in the NFL. And this defense, for those first 8 weeks of the season, was playing like one of the best defenses in the NFL. This team is still very, very good. It was a little concerning. I did not like their game plan at all. Hopefully it's not what we see going forward. But I'm not banking on it. I'm taking a look at what we saw the first 8 weeks, not just judging them that 9th week. Yes, it was concerning. Yes, they looked like a bad team in that game. But we're looking at the bigger picture here. They're still a very good team. They got Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Good offensive line. One of the best defenses in the NFL. Hard not to have this team as one of the best teams in the NFL. They're at number 6 until I'm shown otherwise. At number 5, we have the Green Bay Packers. Moving up one spot here after a convincing win on Thursday Night Football against the 49ers. They got their revenge. They got the revenge they wanted over the 49ers, who smacked them both times they met. 2 out of the 4 losses were to the 49ers, and they got the win. I mean, yes, it was not the same team at all by any means, but Aaron Rodgers looked fantastic once again. Aaron Rodgers getting things done with his offense. Devontae Adams doing the same. So I'm liking a lot of what I'm seeing from this Packers offense. I'm still concerned about the defense, though. And when you get a team that's able to put pressure on Aaron Rodgers, what are we going to see? But I still liked what I saw quite a bit. And so I'm not ignoring that. I'm rewarding the Packers here. I'm moving them up one spot. I think they are better than the teams below them. I know it's a little weird because the Buccaneers just beat the Packers, but it's like a puzzle here. The Bills beat the Seahawks, the Buccaneers beat the Packers, and then the team that we're talking about here, the Saints, at number 4, they lost to the Packers. What do we do? But the Saints are here at number 4. And they looked very, very good. They were the team that we were talking about against the Buccaneers, who just made them look awful. Drew Brees looked great. Michael Thomas was back. And actually, he didn't do as much as I thought he might. I think he will still be a huge addition in the long run. So much you got to do to be able to stop Michael Thomas. And so what? You can call him the Slant King. You can call him whatever you want. But who cares? You get it done. You get it done. So Michael Thomas getting it done. This offense was getting it done. The defense looked great. Finally, they were able to stop some things in the passing attack, which they had not been able to do all year. That was a big concern for me. Their defense was not looking as good as I was hoping going into the year, but it looked great against the Buccaneers. So a good sign from the Saints. They're looking more like the team that I saw them as going into the year. So they're here at number 4, moving up 3 spots after a big win on Sunday Night Football against the Buccaneers. At number 3, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers staying here at number 3 after a shaky at best performance against the Cowboys. Ben Roethlisberger is on COVID. Hopefully he's back for the Bengals game, or else I think that game could be the Steelers' first loss potentially. But this Steelers team, it's very, very good. Their defense is great. They're a great run-stopping unit. They're able to get pressure all day long, and their back end is okay. They're able to benefit off of the fact that the quarterbacks are rushed. The quarterbacks can't really get the ball moving on the ground, but they're still a very good team, an offense that has a lot of weapons. I like the Steelers, so they're here at number 3. I think they're gonna at least win a couple more games. We'll see. And probably end up going 10-0 until they play the Ravens on Thanksgiving. I'm excited for that one. And speaking of the Ravens, they're here at number 2. And I had them at number 2 last week. A lot of people were very mad at me for that. And they showed why they're the second best team. They just beat up on the Colts. And this was actually something I really like to see from the Ravens. We're seeing different pieces of the Ravens this year. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, Lamar Jackson had never won a game when trailing at halftime, but he won this game. They were losing at half, 7-10. They put up 0 points on offense in the entire first quarter. What does Lamar Jackson do? Come out of the half, whipping it, sling it to his receivers, 10 for 10, running the ball like they wanted to. The Ravens pick up the pace, start working in the play action a little bit more, doing the things that they have been doing for the past couple years that have been so successful. That's what we wanted to see, because oftentimes when they're down, they start trying to do things that they aren't, start trying to drop back, pass, and do things that they're not comfortable with. But that's not what they did here. They kept their identity, picked up the pace, asked Lamar to do his thing, and that's what they did. And that was great to see. So I like that a lot from the Ravens. Yes, it wasn't the prettiest performance in the first half at all, but their defense stepped up, their offense stepped up, and that's something we hadn't seen from the Ravens in a while, and even last year. So I think that's something that we could definitely look out for in the future, in the playoffs. When they're down, they don't get rattled. we saw the power of what they can do when they just let Lamar do his thing. So the Ravens are at number 2. And then that leads us to our number 1 team, the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's not even close. I don't think the Ravens are very close to the Chiefs at all. I think we're looking at everybody here on this list being at least 3-point underdogs to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are spectacular. You can get them in the worst possible situation, and they're still not out of it. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a good offensive line, a defense that steps up in the big moments. It is the Kansas City Chiefs. They're an offensive explosion waiting to happen. Just such a good team. When you have a bad game and still win, put up 33 points, what can you do? So I love the Chiefs. They're great. They're here at number 1. I expect them to be here. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl once again. But yeah, those were my Week 10 NFL Power Rankings. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down below what you thought of my list, any disagreements, any agreements. So yeah, thanks so much for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, peace.